Hold on. Hold on, guys. All right. Good night, everyone. Hi, guys. Good night. My name is Shauna Malcolm, and I am the parish president for Kingston and St. Andrew. And I am one of your hosts for our Chit Chat series. So welcome to your Chit Chat series. Our other hosts are tonight, Latoya Robinson and Rashana Sinclair. Now, originally we should have had 5 couples, but we have gotten messages from 2 of our couples that are indicating that they are unable to join. One of them is actually trying to join us. So I just want to welcome Mr. and Mrs. Rooms from Hanover Street Baptist Church. Devian, what's your new married name? Forgive me, I know Devian as Pac-Man, but I know she's no longer Pac-Man. It's Pichard. What's your new name?
Yeah.
I got it right?
Yes, you got it correct.
All right. And we'll also have the Jacobs from Denham Town Baptist Church. So 2 couples from Hanover Street and 1 from Denham Town Baptist. All right, guys. So as you know, we've advertised it as a love and marriage edition. And we just want to talk to our couples. I'm giving the Mr. and Mrs. Rooms an opportunity to join us properly. But Devian, I'm going to ask you and your husband to just share how long you've been married and how has it been so far for both of you?
All right, he's not here as yet, but it's 10 months. I can speak for myself. I can't speak for him. But for me, it has been going good. I am enjoying it so far. I can't complain at all.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. and Mrs. Jacobs, can you share with us how long have you been married and how has it been so far for both of you? Your mic is muted.
Oh, that's the technician, Angela. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We've been married a year and 3 months, but we've been together. Dating for like 5.
Okay. All right. And how has it been? How has the year been? The year and 3 months. I hear Angela say the 3 months beside you.
And I've not killed him as yet, so it's been going good.
I hear you. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Rooms, welcome. Just share with us how long have you been married and how has it been? I hear you hit a milestone recently. Deacon Rooms, are you hearing us? All right, so we're not hearing from Deacon Rooms right now. Right, so I'm just gonna have a member of our team just to contact them to see what is going on to make sure everything is okay. All right, guys. So we reached out. So as all those who so for the interest of our panel and for those who are joining us for the first time, what we covered for 2 weeks was we heard the male perspective and the female perspective. And we felt it was fitting for us to end Chit Chat with the couple's perspective, love and marriage. And what we did differently this time is to reach out to a number for our young people to find out what are the questions they had, you know, what they wanted to know from the couples. And guys, feel free to share. But before we go further into the questions, I'm just going to a word of prayer because it has been quite a day for a lot of our young people. So we're just going to go into a time of prayer. Heavenly Father, we just want to say thank you, God, for you are great and you are wonderful to be praised. Mighty God, I ask that even now that you cover each and every person participating, those who are supposed to join and having technical difficulties, we ask that you sort that out, God. Lord, you are the God of the impossible and you are even the God of the technology. We know that for a fact. So stabilize the internet connections, fix all the technical glitches, mighty God, and renew the hearts of those who are listening, God. We say thank you for what you have done and what you're about to do. In your mighty name I pray. Amen. All right. Mr. Rooms, just speak if you can, so that we can see if we, everything is okay on your end. Let us know, or you can type in the chat to let us know if you're having any challenges. All right, so let me bring up the questions that we got from our young people. All right, so the first question we got was, is it relevant to spend time away from each other? I'm going to ask the men this question. What is your thoughts on this? Starting with you, Mr. Jacobs. What do you think? Is it relevant for you to spend time away from each other?
Is it relevant? I wouldn't say it's relevant. I would say it is keeping your sanity. Because sometimes your wife will just ask you some questions, or she's sitting right in the couch beside the remote. I would ask you to give her the remote. Sometimes you have to wonder. I'm like, the remote is right beside you. Yes. So sometimes it's for your sanity. Yeah.
Mr. Pichard, what do you have to say? I'm not hearing you so clearly. So I'll repeat the question for you. If it's relevant for you to spend time away from each other.
I don't think it's relevant for us.
All right, thank you. And for the ladies, what do you say? Devian, since I'm looking at you, what do you say?
It doesn't, for me, it is relevant. I have spoken to him about it, and he understands there is time in it, especially working from home now for me because I'm teaching from home. There are times in the day where I do leave where he is and I'll go sit in another room for myself and I'll do like my meditation or stuff like that. And he understands it. He gives me the time and all of that. So it is a relevance to me. Like, going into marriage, I knew I was the individual who needed personal time to function. Like, if I go straight throughout the course of the day without personal time, I don't want to say I'm gonna go crazy, but I need personal time. So if it's even 5 minutes out, normally I take like 11 minutes. So the personal time for me is relevant.
Okay. And Angela, what do you say?
Yeah, as much as I can drive your trees, you do drive your trees. So sometimes I do need my space. I need my personal time. I need to be rewind from all of the stress that I get throughout the day that I sometimes can't say to him because he's the problem. I can't say it in the tone that I am in at that moment. So yes, I do need my personal time.
All right. All right. So the other question that we have, I don't know if Mr. Rooms is okay now. Deacon Rooms, is everything all right? We're not hearing you. All right. No. Right. Our team member Donette is going to reach out to you to see how best she can assist you. One of the questions we got was people wanted to hear your backstory, how you met, how it all started. You know, what role did God play in you deciding that he is the one, she is the one? And I'm gonna start with the pictures.
We met at church. I was at church first. One day he showed up, and his story was basically his aunt was the one who wanted him to go to church, and our church was the one that he ended up coming to. He was there about a year without us having any form of communication. Then one day out of the blues, my mother being the mother, always asking me to store a person's number in my phone for her. She took his number and I stored the number, and he has a story that I deliberately look him, but it wasn't a deliberate look. I sent one of I sent one of those messages, not a chain messages, but one of those gospel messages one night, and he replied the other morning. And from then, we've continued the conversation.
It's a picture that saw the story go.
She twists it a little bit.
You said she played the significant role, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Jacobs, let me hear your story. We don't want to hear from Angela. We want to hear from you. How you and your wife meet.
Okay, I was in a bar, and it's across the road from where I work. And I would sit there at times and speak to the bartender, who was a friend of mine. And she came in, bought a Pepsi and whisked out. And I said to the bartender, "Who is that young lady?" She says she works next door. And I'm like, "Is she your friend?" And she said, "Yeah, we talk good." I said, "Well, I need to know more about her." And she's like, "She doesn't really come out much." So I made it my point of duty to come out, stand across the road to see if she would alight from her workplace. Fortunately, one day she did, and I approached her, and it ended up that she sold me some dancing tickets for church. However, I ended up in the country a few days after, and it was work related. And when I came up, it was about a week after she saw me, and she was like, "He took my tickets, then disappeared." And I think I had those tickets in my wallet for like a few years as to how we first interacted and all of that. And I was mesmerized by her smile, her laugh. And I asked her one day if she could give me lunch, and she said, "I'd rather cook lunch for you." I was like, "Okay."
Angela.
And that's how we started off. So it's basically, she caught my eyes and I tried to capture her heart.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So since we're still talking to both of you, Angela, Lady Angela, I don't know if you want to chime in, you know, your relationship with God and what role it played in, you know, the decision saying we're going to take the step of marriage.
Marriage. Oh, God. So initially when this man just everywhere I see him and in my skin, I wasn't interested in relationship at that time. I just became a Christian, like I just got baptized. So I was going to church, but I just got baptized like about 6 months before we met. So I was not looking for a relationship any at all. Plus I was coming out of something that only God could have strengthened me through coming out of it. So my focus was basically all on God. So when we started, I said to him, initially I wasn't looking a boyfriend at this moment. So we were friends as best as we could have without it in my ears every day. But friends in my mind, something else in his mind, I made it known to him. I go to church. Church is a part of everything. He started to come to church, and that's how. So initially, he knew that it's marriage for me. So I've given him a lot of, in the 5 years, I've given him a whole heap of ultimatums, a whole heap. So yeah.
Just to give you an ultimatum.
Yeah, yes. Different types. Still getting threats.
Devian, what about for you? You know, your relationship with God, for both of you, what role did it play in the decision to make the step to marriage?
For me, it played a very important role because being the Christian I am, and I've always said it to him, there's nothing that I want to do outside of God's will. So every decision that I make, I've always questioned it, like if this is God's will, if it's not, just let me stay where I'm there, basically. And I shared a story with him. One day I was really considering the relationship. Not that the relationship was bad, but I really wanted to be certain that this was God's will. And out of the blue, a lady did come to me at church and she was like, God tell me tell us you get one good husband. And that was just confirmation for me. That was before we got married. And she was like, God tell me tell us like, I'm gonna make one good husband. And for that was like confirmation for me, because if I don't get confirmation from God for something, I get really uneasy. So God has to be, our Jesus has to be the center of it all for me, basically. And for him also being a Christian, that's something that I value, because being a Christian from age 12, there's certain value that I uphold with, right? And it's hard for me to really connect with someone if they're not in the same mindset where God is concerned for me. So just having somebody that understands the importance of praying, having someone that understands the importance of simply just going to church on a Sunday, right? For both of us being in church on a Sunday, that's something very important for me. So God does play a very big role in my relationship.
All right, thank you. So I'm gonna hand over to Rashana, who has a few questions for you from the list of questions persons shared. Go ahead, Rashana.
All right, good night, everyone. The next question is, in an argument, who should be the bigger person, the husband or the wife? So in an argument, who should be the bigger person? Can go ahead, Angela, the Jacobs, and then I'll take the other couple.
Who should be the bigger one, dear?
Who should be the bigger one? She says I start most of the arguments. I beg to differ. However, I'm the first to apologize, even though she says I do not. Women apologize differently. Well, I don't know for every female, but my wife apologized differently. And I try not to have arguments, but they do happen. But I tend to take the high road. In her earliest years, she had a wicked tongue. When I say a wicked tongue, I mean she would say anything that came to her mind, and over time she has learned not to. Because sometimes I would, like week or so after, I would repeat a line, and she'd go like, "Seriously, you going back there, sir?" And I'm like, yes, because they say words spoken can never be taken. So choose your words wisely and let them leave your mouth sweet that you have to take them back, they will taste good.
Okay.
So I do try to be the bigger person, and it is not easy. We are two different individuals, but with God, we try to make it work.
Awesome. Thank you. Angela, you want to butt in?
Um, um, I think you said everything. Yeah, actually expect him to. I want of a better word. Yeah, I do argue a lot. I in the beginning, I try my best. So hence the reason the first question about space. So that
Mhm.
is when I will go into my space, and before I respond, I will use that time to. But yeah, I am one of who to argue, and
She doesn't do well when we're not speaking together.
yeah,
She does
Oh,
not do well. She don't sleep well. She don't eat well.
yeah,
Yeah, she doesn't do well. And I tend to tell her, it's hurting you, then it's hurting me. Yeah.
and I keep
all right. Thanks for being honest. All right, the picture.
For us, I am the one I'll say starts most of, I won't call them arguments, but disagreements. But I never have anybody to disagree with because 99.9% of the time he doesn't answer. He always takes the situation and turns it into a joke or something, which I end up laughing out. So I kind of like that about the relationship, but he doesn't argue, he doesn't complain. I'm the person who does that. But as I said, he doesn't answer at all. He listens, and if there's a solution, he waits until I'm finished talking. Then he says something, but he doesn't normally answer me at all.
Mr. Fisher, do you want to agree or disagree, put in your point?
In a relationship, I don't think there is a bigger one, I should say. Um, what I do believe in is that with every decision that we make in life, we can have a solution for it. I do believe that we can be that person where you can be unite and settle on one decision.
Okay, thank you. Well said. Thank you. Deacon Rooms. Deacon Rooms? I was still not hearing from Deacon Rooms. All right, so since we're still on the pictures, we are going to show them the next question from our panelists, or sorry, our young people. So the next question reads, how often should we apologize and why? Do you think it's important to apologize, and why apologize?
Yes, as often as you can, as soon as you realize that you have offended the other person, although in reality, sometimes if you feel like you're the one who was offended and you do something back to offend him, you feel like enough you apologize. But because I've done that honestly, I've waited out, but having the Holy Spirit and it right there sometimes. So you should apologize. As soon as you realize that you have genuinely offended the other person,
Mm-hmm.
just apologize to them. And it is important because as Christians, I think that's what God has called us to do, right? We should just have that part of us that no, we should apologize, even if we feel like we were wrong, like two wrong don't make a right, basically. So as often as you can each day, apologize.
All right, thank you. And I see the Jacobs, they're having a conversation. I'm eager to hear their response.
Um, Angela says, I don't apologize, but I do.
he doesn't.
Sometimes what we argue about is that she wants to do things a particular way, and I would say no, and then she's like, you never let me do things my way, and I would be like, because it's not gonna work out.
Mm-hmm.
And when it doesn't work out, she does not come back to say you were correct or what. So she says I tend to bully her, which is not true. But if I offend her, like yesterday, we were on the road and she said, make a call, and I did. She said, did you ask the particular question? I said, no, they don't have chicken. And I said, no, wrong. I did not ask. And
No, because you know me not gonna find out.
oh, you're
Because
talking
me
the
not gonna
truth for
find
the
out.
first. I
Because
said,
me not
yes,
gonna find out.
I
All
did
time me
not
find out.
ask. So I don't know if they have chicken. So sometimes as men, we tend to act overly macho. We're never wrong. But when you have a companion, you ought to also put yourself in that person's space and in your shoe to say, how do you feel? So yes, I do apologize. As I said, women apologize in a very different manner as to my wife. She apologizes differently.
Mm-hmm.
She would come in and cook a hell of a meal and make a hell of a juice and then say, dinner is served, sir. And I'm like, thank you. And then she say, you're welcome. So that's her way of apologizing. If she's still upset, she will cook the food and then she'll say, it's ready. You can serve yourself if you want to. So when she
Oh,
truly apologizes, I know.
Um, I apologize. I apologize. Yes. Sometimes, as Miss Patman said a while ago, the Holy Spirit tends to prick me a lot, because I attend and I have from time to time be a little bit ego, so I'm not going to apologize for certain things. And especially when I know that I'm right, even if I didn't
okay.
approach it the right way, I'm going to try to find another way to smooth over. But even when I'm smoothing over, I'm apologizing. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, But yeah, it is. I think I would love to hear it more often. And I know he would love to hear it more often also, but working on that.
So
Okay.
who, okay. Hold on,
No,
Lashana,
go
let me
ahead, Rashana. Go
finish.
ahead.
All right, so is it that the female is the one, the wife is the one who often apologizes first, or is it the husband? I'm
Come
just
again?
trying to out. Any couple can answer.
I
I
didn't
didn't
hear
hear
the
the
question.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was asking, is it that the wife is the one who is the person who tends to apologizes quickly than the husband?
No.
Not in this situation, boy. Mm-mm.
No,
No, no.
the pit chart. What do you
I,
have to say?
I'm
I,
grateful.
apology is different. He rarely says, I'm sorry, but his action shows it. So I'm the one to deliberately say, I'm sorry if I offended you.
Okay.
He rarely says the I'm sorry. He'll rather carry my box or donut or anything like that, but he's not saying the deliberate I'm sorry. He's just not. And before we were married, I've had the same issue with him, just not saying I'm sorry because I've wanted him to say I'm sorry. But then I realized he's more of an action instead of words. He thinks his action means more than words. So over the years, I've had to learn to look out for that. So he shows me the action that he's sorry, but he doesn't say the I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. And I think that speaks of the other person's love language. And I think I'll now hand over to Shauna. She will further ask the question.
All right. Thanks, Rashana. So, we talk about apologies, we talk about the arguments and everything, but one of the biggest things that tends to be a root of arguments is money. And I want to hear for some couples, you hear that money is a root, and I see a lot of money questions coming up from our young people. I remember having a discussion with a friend of mine, and I said to her, "Someone said, so you're not help your husband pay the bill?" And she said, "For what? Not him, the man of the house. Anything come in his mind, me spend the money or me want to spend it. What are both your takes?" I'm asking the men, what are your takes on that?
Okay. For us in particular, when we first got together, I said to her, most of the problems in a relationship is based on money. Who is expected to do what? And I said to her, jokingly, you love to turn on every light, so you pay the light bill. I'll pay the water bill, I'll pay the internet, and we sort out the rent. As for groceries, it's both our monies combined. We maintain the car, it's both our money. No money is too good for Angela to give. Likewise, she would go into my wallet and she would say, "Oh, you have money," and she would take money. And we have a policy where money in the house is for us. It's not lost or found. So we put on money and I say, "I see some money on the dresser. What is it for?" And she said, "You don't have any money, I'll leave it there." And she would call, "I see some money on the dresser. What is it for?" And I would say, "You said you need money." And that is how it is. We don't have a tit for tat argument where money is concerned. The car need gas. She said, "I know you're low. I'll throw gas in this week." And the next week, I don't want her to say, "I did it last week." So no, we don't have that kind of argument.
Okay.
What is to be done will be done.
Okay. And Sir Pitchard, what do you have to say? What is your thoughts?
It is a balance process, I would say. It is not who do this or who do that, but it is a combination of one to for the same achievement. I would say it is not saying like, you know, say you're gonna pay it this week or you're gonna pay it next week. It's a combination. So if we have it, we pay it. It is not a decision. It automatically just would happen. Like if she do this, she do it. If I do this, I do it. We don't question who pays what or what the responsibilities is with money.
All right. I don't know if Mr. Rooms has started out his mic issue. Deacon Rooms, I don't know if your mic is working now. I guess not. All right. So, one of the, you're saying something, Debian?
No, just to say, even that's why even in dating, you discuss those issues, because before we got married, automatically we realized that we had the type of relationship that it wasn't a you pay or me pay. Even when we went out on dates, one person paid the bus fare, one person buy the food and all of that. It wasn't an issue to say one use their money and you use money or anything like that. So from that, it came natural for us to understand that it wasn't his paycheck or it's my paycheck. If he makes 50 and I make 100, at month end, both of us have 150,000 and we're going to start out that. So it's not him going to have 50 and me have 100. It naturally just came to us. So we never really have a money issue because we saw it as one instead of separate.
Okay. You said something a while ago, when you were dating and when bus fare and all of that. And, you know, one of the things that came up in our female session is that matter of standards. And was there any point at entering your relationship for both ladies that you had your standards, but then because you realize that this is a person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, he is the one, that you adjusted those standards or you recognize that those standards were baseless?
Yes, for me, it did. Like initially, the standard for me, it's like when we went on a first date, I knew he was the one taking me out on a date. So I wasn't expecting her. If he asked me to pay at that point, I would have been turned off, honestly. So in that first aspect of the relationship, just dating, he kind of covered everything. But as we progressed and we moved from dating to courting, and we were now discussing future and purchasing like house and all of that, then automatically you just naturally know it's no longer now he's expected and you're going to lower your standard or anything at all. It's a joint thing. So there are days maybe if he comes and he says low and fun, I don't have an issue giving it to him. Same way I'll doesn't matter how much money I had yesterday, if today come and I don't have any money, he's one of the first person I'm going to call and tell him that I don't care where he is in the country. Before we were married, he's the first person I called, I want money. So to me, once you know that this is a person, it no longer becomes nothing about standard. It's just joint for me. That's what I think.
Okay. Angela?
See, because when we started talking, I wasn't looking, so I didn't have any standard. I wasn't just, my mind was nowhere there. But honestly, he I wouldn't say sweep me off my feet because he was songwriters who come out head on a swell, but he was he was really there. I would be picked up from work. If I'm taking bus stop point, I'll be picked up from the bus stop, I'll be taken home. I'll be getting lunch each day. So it was standard was there. I wasn't really looking standard either.
So when and this is for the men and the women. So you hear about deal breakers, you know, this red flag and whatever. Was there anything when you were dating or even before you started dating, you said, me no want a man want to do this, me no want a woman want to do that. But then when you started dating, you said, boy, that don't really make no sense, you know. Let me just, that don't make sense. It don't make sense to hold on to that. I'll start with the Jacobs first.
All right, at first I had an issue with the whole hair thing, false hair thing, because when she would cuddle it, the hair would kind of tickle and stuff and feel and then I realized that sometimes women want to do things that make them look beautiful for them, not just for you. And we would argue about it, not argue costs, but I'm like, you don't need it. You look better. But at first she had the whole kind of hair. So it wasn't that Kaneka who and Kaneka when. Yeah. and curly what and curly so. But it was the kind of cotton thing, so it wasn't that bad. And then I got her to realize that her natural hair is a lot easier to grow, yes. And coupled with a hairdresser, the hairdresser also helped her to understand that growing her hair is good. Her hair is strong. And it's lovely. Yes. Ayani. There were things that I found very appealing at first. No tattoos, no bleaching, and no piercing, no 3-4 hairs ring. And to find a woman in this day and age who is not running down all those ring and piercings is a blessing.
Okay.
You don't have to contend with that and no bleaching and no marks. So it was like, okay, this is the girl for me. Um, Somebody who I found very interesting and talking to her daily. Yeah.
Okay.
But she still does her hair, but you no trouble me.
Listen to me. I have natural hair that is.
What about you, Angela? Were there deal breakers that after a while you said, boy, they may not make sense?
Okay, so there was a deal breaker that from I was small, I've always said I'm not going to be in a relationship with somebody here. So like about a year and a half, 2 years of courting, I was introduced to his mother over the phone. He was all the way in Miguel. And so his mother said, okay, so you're going to do the thing now. I'm like, do the thing? What thing? So when he come up on the phone with the mother, he said, I was married. I'm like, what? And so that was the first split we split in my head. Guys, this to me, my brother, we're done with you. Hang up phone, stop talking and everything. But it was 5 years, 10 years, and all of that. So that was one of my deal break, my beginning of going in any relationship. I would have never been in a relationship with someone who is in a relationship, who is married or anything like that. So that was one of mine.
All right, thanks. The pictures, what were your deal breakers that just never make any sense after a while?
One of the main one for me going into the relationship Like, as I said, this dude never, not only don't say I'm sorry, but there was something that he didn't just communicate with, right? One of the main one was for me, he left to go and visit his family in the country, and he didn't feel it was necessary to say him rich or to say him all right or anything like that at all. So that was starting to be a turn off for me. But after a while, when I sat and I looked into it, I realized I came from a family who communicated every single thing. So if we were coming home late, you call mommy, I come home late. If you read somewhere, you call mommy, me read. You come in, you communicate. He came from a household where everybody had their own room, their own space. And so you just get up, go in, you don't have to say anything to anybody. And so after a while, I had to realize that I couldn't allow that to basically break the relationship, because I had to look at how he was raised and how I was raised, and then just try to communicate with him that I would like if he does this or that. But I had to let that go, realizing that it's not that he's a bad person, it's just that how your parent kind of makes a difference. So I had to definitely let that one go.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. What about you, Sir Pitcher?
Communication has, I would say, grown over the years. I don't know for her, but I think she can answer for herself. But I know how communication would be like back then, and I know how greatly it impacts her. So because I wanted for us to be in a line where we don't have this major disagreement in communication, I try my best to communicate effectively. I don't know if she can answer to that or say something on it.
He doesn't always still communicate effectively, but I'm just at a state now where I'm honestly just used to it. So things that used to bother me before, it really don't bother me as much again. So I don't say don't communicate. He's communicating more than he was before. If he's going to be late, he messages now saying he's running late or anything like that. But yeah, it's not all the while like I would like it. As I said, I am raised in a certain family where we just talk. Sometimes he tells me I talk too much. I know that's how I was raised. We're always communicating. For him, he wasn't raised like that, as I said. So some things, no, I just let it slide. It doesn't really bother me.
Thanks. So I see where Mr. and Mrs. Rooms can hear us and they can see us. I don't know if their mic is working. Mr. Rooms, can you try and talk into the mic? Let us see if the mic is working. So we crossed one hurdle. Says the mic hurdle we need to cross. So we're not seeing where they're trying to speak. I don't know what's happening on their end with the mic, but I've seen where they've typed in the chat to say that they can hear us and they can, if I'm correct, I think the Rooms have been married for 50 years and I really wanted to hear their thoughts on a lot of these topics that are coming up in the chat, in the conversation, and a lot of questions. So Mr. Pitcher, there's something that and I'm asking both you and Mr. Jacobs. So we talk in the last sessions, we talked about the Proverbs 31 woman, and every lady wants a Boaz, and all of these Bible characters, but everybody talk about the Boaz and the Proverbs 31 woman, and and one of the things that came up was why it has to be a Proverbs 31. The ladies said, why them have to be a Proverbs 31 woman? But the men said, why you have to need a Boaz? Suppose God say you must marry a David, a Joseph. Why it have to be a Boaz? What are your thoughts on those stigma? I would say stigma, but those labels that are attached to what the ladies have, like the list and the attributes that they want in a man. What are your thoughts on that?
As for my thoughts on it, everybody is entitled to their own expectations and their own ideas of who their soulmate is to be, and you can't tell him not to think. She wants a Boaz, and she will wait until her time come, as Job would have said, and maybe she'll wait until she's 99, waiting for a Boaz. Or maybe you could have a David, and you would get him through prayer and fasting and love to become your Boaz. As I would say, a lot of people have values for relationships. Some only would get involved with somebody who is a deacon or a pastor. It is their preference of who they want to be with. So you can stop them from wanting the Boaz. But there are many people out there who are just as equal, might not be great in every aspect of a male, but they have things that compensate for other areas that they're weak in. So yes, I may not be a Boaz, but I could be a Samson, strong and handsome, but have a weakness. So it is up to your partner now to say lovingly, with God, we can work to getting you to being my boss. As we know, everybody is not the same mindset. As Davian said, her husband would not communicate when he gets to a point. If I leave town, the first person I call, hey, I'm down here, I'm safe. What you up to? And when I'm leaving, hey, I'm leaving. What's up? And if I don't reach back in a certain time, she would call, where are you? And I'm like, oh, traffic is crazy. So everybody has their expectations, and sometimes it is hard for as men to live up to their expectations, and sometimes it is hard for them also to live up to ours. But what we can do is accept the person for who they are and love them for who they are, and try to gently, gentle with love, get the person to who you want them to be. But it's not for us to step in and demand the changes and demand a certain type of person. As the Bible says, we can either so either you're gonna take me as I am, AM, not YAM. Yes. And sometimes as a child, I met a pastor and I was curious. I said to him, because we were on a very good rapport level, I said to him, Pastor, I have often wondered why your wife is not as beautiful as other pastors' wife. And he smiled, he looked at me and he said, would you believe it that of our 20 years of marriage, I've never had an argument with my wife?
Wow.
And I said to him, that is awesome. So sometimes we are looking for the Miss Universe, the Coca-Cola bottle shape, and we will say, as men, we're not gonna stop until we get it. And the women will say they're not gonna stop until they get the tall, dark, and handsome. But it's what God intends for you. And once God is in it, it's gonna work out. Because God can change any man into a Boaz.
Hey, so true. So before Mr. Pitchard answers, for those who are tuning in live on YouTube, so as we shared earlier, Mr. and Mrs. Rooms have been married for 50 years. They met at Hanover Street nearly 59 years. So they are not able to speak by the mic, so they're sharing some history in the chat. And they're just, one of the things they're sharing as it relates to money is that when they at the start, they agreed that they would have one account, and it has worked well for them over the years. 50 years. And their then pastor told them that it was often a great source of difficulty in marriages, and that money, that is, it was often a great source of difficulty in marriages. And they're saying that if one is married 20 years and never had an argument, this could hardly be true. Yeah. I guess everybody deems arguments as different. So Mr. Pitchard, what is your thoughts on, these expectations, the Boaz concept? What do you think?
I think everybody has their own expectation, as well as male as female. We all, as men, we all have something that we want to see come out in our woman. And as females, I think females want to see their expectation in a man.
Right.
In terms of someone who is rich or someone who is be able to take care of everything, I wouldn't say so, but I can say that we are willing to work it out together. It's not about the glory road, but is the road that can be that we're willing to just work it out. It is, I wouldn't say that in life it is all about being on the smooth path, but the path that are challenging, they are the path that teach you more than enough about life and more than enough about marriage.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So a question that came was, how often should we go to family members to mediate? And since we're with the pictures, I want you to respond, and the rooms can type in the chat. How often should we go to family members to mediate on our behalf when having marital issues?
We've never been so far in the marriage. We've never been to a family member, and he's the type of person who doesn't like basically his business on the outside. I'm the type of person also from me, like no matter even if it's a family, it depends on who you're going to, because everybody has a different perspective. And some person's perspective might honestly throw you off because they're not in the situation. So I wouldn't say anybody should go to a family member. If you're having real difficulties, better to go and see a counselor. But not necessarily to go to a family member with an issue. Try to resolve it yourself first. If it can be resolved, seek the professional help. But everybody's family is different. As I said, there's something even when we are making decisions going into marriage. And as I said, I come from a household where I tell mommy everything basically. That's just why I was raised. Everything you take mommy advice, everything you tell mommy, everything that. But then I got to a point where I realized that his personality would not necessarily match the advice mommy is giving me. So I had to stop going to mommy.
The advice because she know you.
Exactly. She knows me. She doesn't know him. So even if we're going to purchase something as a couple, normally if I'm purchasing something for myself, I would tell mommy. And even though I want to tell mommy, I realize the advice that she might give to me would not match what would work for us. So I kind of back to back with what I would go to the family members with. Basically. Okay. Yeah.
All right. And I see where the rooms indicate that try to resolve it yourself rather than rush to involve a third person. And I agree with that. Angela and Sir Jacobs.
In our relationship, I try my best. There is 3 persons in our relationship already. I don't like crowds, so 3 is enough as a crowd. Me, him, and God. So most of the 90% of the time, if he's, before anything, he's my best friend. And anytime I am at a place where my best friend is challenged, I will always say to him, we're no longer husband and wife. I would like to speak to my best friend. So there I'll speak to my best friend and we'll have that conversation, and then we'll both will understand where we're both coming from. Because at that point we're down to 0 because we're friends, not husband and wife anymore. So there's nobody else in our relationship but us. Sometimes you'll hear other persons same, but at the end of the day, it's just us.
I have often said to persons many times that when the argument has passed and the disagreement has passed and you have made up, the person or the family member that you went to may not forgive that person, and they may have it up in them, in their minds forever. So other than a physical hit, then everything should be resolved within yourself. Without abuse, and verbal abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. So it should not be tolerated any at all. And as I've often said, you will forgive your partner, they won't.
Yeah, yes. That is so true. So I shared another question in the chat. Was there any doubts or fears on your wedding day?
Nope. There was none. She could not be late. She was not late. I made sure of that while talking to the driver that's gonna drive her to the church. As for doubts, no. There were no doubts. There were no shaking in the boots. It is more of saying, yeah, we have gotten to that point. We're gonna take it a step further. She often reiterates that until death do us part. So if we're gonna part, someone has to die by old age or by some other means. But divorce is not an option, and I'll just have to sit and look and say, okay, this is a person I'm gonna get old with, teeth falling out, gray hairs and all. But we try our best. And as I said, arguments, she doesn't do well with arguments because she comes out on the wrong side of it, feeling sick. If we don't talk for a few days, when she does get to talk, she wants to tell me everything that's been, unbacked up, what's happening at work, blah, 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 that kind of thing. It wasn't a rushed decision. She said I took too long to ask a question. But it wasn't a matter of too long. Just making sure that the time was right. It's a lifelong decision. But on that day, there were no doubts.
Okay. Okay, Charles?
For us, I had no doubts, none at all. We were together for 7 years, dated, courted at that time before we got married. So by the time we got to our wedding day, we would often tell each other that we felt like we were already married for some reason. Because when I got to a certain point in the relationship, I could not see myself anymore with anybody again. I was already just like, as I said, the flaws and everything, I've already accepted it. I have already said this is it. So the wedding day was just like officially saying that you're married. But I felt like we were married before getting married.
Okay. What about you?
Female expectation of when the wedding happen is far different from men, because if we took 7 years before we got married, and for her that time should have come like many years ago. But it's different. We as men, we want to know what we are getting into. We want to understand them. We want to relate to them on a level that it is okay for us to go to them and talk to them. We look at female as we look at it at a level that we can look at them in a way that this is the person that will grow our child. This is the person that we are. So the timing is different for men as for females. There wasn't any doubt on the day because we had spent so long together. There was no doubt.
Okay. And I see where the resounding no came from the rooms. No, they didn't have was no doubt, and they're happy on their day. December 27, 1969. So you guys would have all gone through premarital counseling, correct? No, you don't mute yet, Devian. So Michael, do you feel that if when you went through the premarital counseling, did it help to prepare you for the journey?
Yes, it did. And it's good to get advice from persons that are old. And I realize that dealing with an argument is very easier when only one person argue. That's it.
You said that is one advice you won't forget. Mr. Jacobs, what you say? Oh, did the premarital counseling help?
Reverend Shimio did an awesome job. Ended up that he became he's connected to Angela via cousins. They are linked by blood relations, but he ended up being my friend more than hers.
Yes, he's awesome too.
And every time that we were leaving, he's like, Angela, you need to listen. Angela, what Ratcliffe is saying wrong, Angela. And so she would feel like she's been beaten upon. But no, we had an awesome time. And he came across as different, very different. And he also made arrangements for us to meet up 3 months down in the marriage, 6 months down in the marriage, to see if I'm still alive and very much well. And I would say, yes, it did help. It did help a lot. He touched everything. He touched from life as individuals, life as couples, what are our expectations. We need to lay them out to each other. We need to see if we're going to agree on what the other person is expecting. So the premarital did help a lot.
Okay. So there was a question that came in our last session. Trying to pick up the question. Oh, right. So the question was, should sex be used as a bargaining tool? And Angela was my co-host. I think, no, Angela was on the panel for that one. Angela, you remember that question, right? Yes, I think it was asked of the women, should sex be used as a bargaining tool? And before you answer, the rooms are sharing that Reverend Gibbs counseled them, and he reminded them that if we marry to the devil's son or daughter, we would have trouble with our father-in-law. That's true. So I'm going to start with the Jacobs, and then the rooms can share their response in the chat. But I remember the question coming because it came from a husband, and he asked, should sex be used as a bargaining tool?
No, it should not be. Even though women tend to be the one to say, nah, you're not getting any. As for me and my household, she would say, seriously, and I was like, I want to go to sleep. I'm tired. I need to go to sleep. I had a long day. And she's like, seriously? And when the time comes, I'm like, hey, baby. She's like, I want to go to sleep. I'm tired. So she's just doing that because of what happened previously. But it is not used as a weapon in our marriage. It's not used as a bargaining tool. She would laugh sometimes, and I would say I got paid today. She's like, okay, so I have some dancing to do. I'm like, really now? So that's the type of relationship that we have. I'm not gonna say she's a saint because she gives herself a lot of trouble, but it's my kind of trouble and my headache. But it's not used as a bargaining tool. No, not in this marriage.
Okay. The Pichards, your thoughts on that?
No, it's not for us, not a bargaining. Not a bargain. I'm trying to think of a situation if it's ever been used as a bargaining, but I can't find any. So I would say no.
Okay. All right. All right. So I haven't seen anything from the rooms yet, but there's also a question that came that says, do you think it's important to continue dating your spouse throughout the marriage?
You have never ever reached the place where you're too comfortable with your wife. As the saying goes, you have to treat her like you're still trying to win her. And as men, we tend to get complacent, and we would follow the line trophy wife. So as a trophy, you'd put her in a glass case, and every now and again you dust her down and put her back on the shelf. That is not so. We should never do that. And a lot of times people would say they lose interest, or you don't seem to be in love with me anymore. And it's because women live for attention. If she did her nails and you don't realize that she do her nails, she's cooking the food and there's a lot of banging in the kitchen because I didn't realize that she did her nails. Um, if I trim and she don't say, "Ooh, somebody trim and look cute," trouble there. But she always look around and say, "Oh, give me a kiss, baby trim, baby cute." Um, we have to. We have to, if it's even 20, 30, 40 years, still let her feel the way you used to make her feel when you were trying to win her.
Mm-hmm.
Because women are creatures who live for attention. Um, yes, we're all created by God. Yeah, she said she's not a creature. But there are beings who love to be admired, and the best compliment should come from your partner.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, I said to her, if I'm wearing a purple pants with a blue shirt, a green tie, a black hat, and a red shoes, and you say I look damn good, I'm gonna step out in confidence.
All that is
That
ever,
matters the
right?
most. I look good. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, should always treat her like you're dating her.
Okay.
Yesterday, I bought her a slice of cake, a little
Your
Snickers,
face light up a while ago.
and I gave her the bag. She was like, "What you begging?" I'm like, "I don't have to be begging. You're my wife. I bought it for you. They don't have to be. You don't have to be a special date. You don't have to be a significant time. Just treat her.
Okay. Angela, anything from you?
Um, I like to go out, so automatically I'm always dating. I see something new, babes, let's go there. Babes, so I'm always, yeah. Once we're able to, I want to go. I have a time I want to go to the country, boogie, let's go and just drive on. That's always the so we always have that fire up.
Okay. And I see where the rooms are sharing that dating should be a continuous process. Compliment each other often. Let your spouse feel that you are seeing her or him. And that is very true. Michael, Devian, anything from you?
very important. Before marriage, our date will definitely be that we're going out somewhere. No, I find, which is weird, the nicest thing, if he wants to go to the supermarket for something, ask you come in. If he's going somewhere, it's just that even though sometimes I really don't want to go because the journey is so like I'm going all over the place. But the fact that he is important, wanting my company, asking me if I'm coming, I find those little situations as dates. It might not being that you're definitely going to sit and eat somewhere, but just that time being spent together outside of the house, just walking on the road, going somewhere or something. I think those moments are important. And so I think dating is very much important.
How has COVID affected your marriage?
It has not. For the most part, I've always been introverted. I rather stay home. Persons will not understand what I must say today. I didn't boyfriend. But I've always been the person who stays home, and he's always had that personality as well. He's not the person that goes out, always have to go out or anything at all. We've always found our enjoyment just being still. So we've not been affected. His job has allowed him to still work outside, even during the COVID period. So he's out, I stay home, get my time alone just the same. He comes home. So it hasn't affected us in any way. We've enjoyed. I have this thing that I've invented called, I don't know what, fancy food night. That's what we call it, fancy food night. So because we haven't been going out to eat, we've had days where we definitely make the effort to make something that you will normally purchase from a restaurant. And so that has helped with like creating a difference, creating something new, that little enjoyment, but we haven't been affected.
Okay. The Jacobs, how has COVID affected your marriage? I hear you said that you like to go out and everything, but now with COVID, how has it affected both of you?
It hasn't dampened anything up for us. We would go and purchase the food and take it home. We recently went on a nice little weekend at by a Principe. We had a wonderful time. Thanks to COVID, the prices are really slashed. So it's a
It
good
sound like
thing.
you will take another weekend with these slash
Trust
prices.
me, the prices have been slashed, and I'm telling you,
That's true.
I'm
Bring
loving
good prices.
it. Believe me.
And all he did was sleep.
Yeah, I slept.
He stayed in the room and sleep on
Yeah.
the whole trip. I went out.
Men and women are totally different.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pose this question to the ladies. I want to hear your thoughts on the question that we were asked is, while you love each other, is it important for you to like your spouse too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the first like them to love them. When you love guys, aren't you? Fine, do everything.
So you might get what do you say, Angela?
Like, I appreciate him. I do love him. Believe me, there are days when I am like seriously ignorant to him, so I could use that dislike day. But it's nothing great. But yeah, it's good to like your spouse. So in spite, just the same way, it's good to love them. So as I said, he's my friend. So even when I'm perking when we're arguing, is that I'm like, all right, go and beat up your chest, guys. 2-3 days being upset, you know what is going to be the end. Like I'm gonna need to talk to him and all of that. But it is good to like or love your spouse at the end of the day.
Okay. Devian?
Yeah, it's very important to like. There's a lot of persons I do love from a distance. So if I don't like you, I will not be communicating with you every moment of the day. I will not spend time with you every moment of the day. Because even though, and even with family members, there's family members I do love, but their energies for me doesn't match, so I'm not gonna spend with you. So I have to like you in a relationship as well. And that's one thing I've enjoyed and realized I do like his company. It's not about just the love. I love him as a person overall, but I like his company. I enjoy being around him. I like talking to him. I like spending time with him. I like resolving issues with him. If I didn't like him, then it wouldn't make any sense. So it is important to have the like. As Mrs. Jacob said, there are moments that I don't like you at the moment. But for us, as I said, because I do like his company, those moments for us, or for me, don't normally last too long. It's like, I don't like it for 2 minutes, and then after, for me, feel like I don't have anybody else to talk to. So right after, like, we can communicate again, because I do like hanging out with him. So the like is important.
Okay. I don't know if Latoya or Samantha, you have any questions? You want to ask the couples? All right. So the rooms have shared that if they prefer the love. So let me, before I even go back to respond to the question, as it relates to COVID, the room shared that as retired persons, we're spending even more time together. Our spiritual life has grown during this time. We talk much and find even more time to talk. Wow. And they've shared that I prefer loving rather than liking. This means that even when there may be a disagreement, the love is still there. Yeah, I like the sound of that. All right, so I have a question for the men. This is from a single male. He's asking, do you ever get bored of your spouse, and what do you do if that happens? So we'll start with you, Michael.
For me, because we have spent so long together and we have taken a very long time to get to this point in life, there is nothing that will be boring about my wife. I find the time to spend with her, that the more time I spend with her, I realize that there's things that I haven't known as yet.
Yeah.
There are things to know, there are things to explore. So it's not a case where I say that it's boring. It's a process where you can grow. It's a process where we can work together.
All right. Sir Jacobs.
Nah, she's more than a handful. There's no time to be bored. There are times when I'm going to the mechanic and I'm like, babes, you're coming? Come to what? Sit down and watch somebody work on the car. And then she turns around calling, you soon come home? I'm like, I told her to come. It's going to take a little bit of time. There are times when she would come on the road and then she would get miserable because we're just stationary at one place. And I'd be like, this ain't a picnic thing. This is an adult thing. This is grown folk business. You got to learn to sit quiet. But no, I'm not bored of her. She gives enough trouble to keep me active, but not bored.
Never done moment with me.
I have a question from a female who is engaged. She's asking how, she says she know that maybe you guys wouldn't have experienced it, but she wants to know, as it relates to long distance relationship, if you would give a long distance relationship a try. And before you answer, I'm seeing where Mr. Rooms, Deacon Rooms is saying, no, I try to understand my wife as much as possible. I never believe that I know everything about my wife. Yeah, that's true. And there's always something very, I hear that YouTube is very quiet tonight. I don't know why. But for the ladies, the question was asked by an engaged young lady. She says that if there was a conversation about a long distance relationship, would you think about doing the long distance, or would you follow your spouse to where he's going? I'll start with Angela, then Devian.
For me personally, when I just met Angela, she realized I wasn't the type of person who, as I put it, foreign-minded. So I never had an intention to leave Jamaica. She has traveled twice. At one point, she wanted to take me, but I'm like, nah, I'm good. It would work for me. It would be hard to do, but if the opportunity is there for us to both go wherever each person is going, then it'll be good. The relationship can work if you want to make it work, as it takes two. One person can be in love, and the other person saying, okay, I'm this far, I need to carry on my life.
Okay.
You just be honest. If you're going away and you don't think you're going to be loyal and trustworthy, just say it to the person. Don't string them along. But I don't see any in any near future where we're going to have a long distance relationship. The furthest distance is me in Mobay, she in Kingston. I have to overnight, but we're on the phone. And then tomorrow morning, I'm back home. That's
Okay.
it.
Angela?
Listen to me. So yes, Angela planning to travel the world. So
Angela, you sound like if Mr. Angela were going to Europe, you're ready.
bags packed and dragging back on it. But honestly, seriously now, I think a long distance would be fine with me. I would love to go overseas and work. Um, I I do think it will work. I do think I can make it work. Because as I said, I'm finished. There's two things I have in life that I said there's no turning back to once I get married. So these are two things that I stick to. No matter what, God know that me and my brother forever, me and my troops, me and my big friend, when I left, when I go back, when I and just to say my husband can know that no matter what, that don't mean he must try him look because they to death do us part, somebody ever dead, so they try and look at dead, but I would not. Long distance will work for us, for me.
Okay. Devian?
I it wouldn't work for me either in regards to my personality, to each his own. But for my personality, being in a marriage, and I've always said it, if you're married, I don't think you should be living apart, basically. If you're married, and I believe as best as you can, you should be under the same roof. So totally a long distance would be out for me. If one person is leaving, I think it's best for both to go. I think it's best for both to go. But as I said, if you're in a situation and you think that you can deal with it, then it's up to you. But again, with the different love languages and your personality, if you cannot manage it, you just cannot manage.
Okay. Um, before you meet my Devian, wait, the whole concept of waiting. I've gotten a question. What advice do you have to give to single women who are eager to get married? They're getting impatient because maybe they haven't found the one, or the person they think is the one hasn't popped the question yet. What advice would you give to single women?
Just trust God. At the end of the day, it's better to be in a relationship that God has designed for you instead of just being in any relationship at all. And we have to understand that God knows what is best. God knows the best timing. God knows the best person. I've said it to him in the 7 years. There are moments when I felt that he should have proposed already, but then getting to the point that we got married, I realized I was not ready in that period. Like if I had gotten married at that point, I would not honestly still be married. There were a lot of things that I had to grow out of, a lot of selfish personalities that God had to rid me of. There were periods that God saw fit, even when it come to finances. it was through a certain period that we grew and we understood how to manage our finances. If we had rushed it, then we would have ended up in problem. So I always believe in the all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. So even if it's taking 10 years, 20 years, just wait. Like God knows what's best. Just wait it out.
Okay. Angela?
As I said, when me and Jacob started to talk, I wasn't interested in a relationship. And I always, as my friend said, anything that we have, once you, and if the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and in all its righteousness. If you are seeking God and you're looking at God, your eyes are set you on the path for that person, if it is that he has a person in store for you. Not even if, because when he has that person in store for you, you just need to stay in his guidance, in his protection. Now, even if it's 10, 15 years, sometimes we don't even understand why we are single for so long and we've been in the Christendom for so long. But at the end of the day, are we ready to take on a partner? Believe me, my last 1 year of marriage, I've thought about, I've given up so many times. It's because of looking back on what the Lord has said. This is some of the little lessons that he has brought me through personally that have pushed me through my marriage. So he is molding us for something, and if we are not properly molded, we can't carry water. So if he's making us into a mug, into a jug, into a cup, we have to carry water, we have to carry food. Are we ready? Is there a crack in our cup? So we have to know that at the end of the day, being single is not a burden, is not a curse, but it's something gross for what God has planned for us.
All right. Thank you. So I'm just giving Miss Room some time to type what her thoughts are. Okay, she says, be cautious in the early stages. Get to know the person you're dating and get advice from experienced persons. So ladies, you hear that? Of 50 years of marriage, that's what the lady Dorothy Rooms have to say. Be cautious in the early stages. Get to know the person you're dating and get advice from experienced persons. And as we wrap up, I want you to answer this final question. And I'm going to start with the youngest marriage, then the middle, and then the oldest marriage. What lessons, and I want from both men and women, what lessons has marriage taught you? So I'm going to start with Devian and Michael. What lessons have marriage taught you? Nice, Reen.
To see the beauty in someone and not their flaws. I've had to accept that. And marriage has also shown me that I am not perfect either. Initially, when you're seeing somebody, you think that they're always wrong. Marriage has opened up the big door for me that no one is perfect. I am not perfect. He is not perfect. But if the good is outweighing the flaw, then everything is okay. That's what marriage has taught me so far. There's no perfection in it, but as long as you decide to work together, as long as you decide to not focus on the negative, but on the positive, then everything will be okay.
Michael?
I strongly agree with the words. I think that marriage is not a thing. In all of this, in the time that we have taken to be here, as she has said earlier, all things happen in the will of God. And marriage has shown me that there's nothing to worry about in life. We're turning to problems, to difficulties. It's a case of coming together as one so that we can make our life better.
Angelo and Jacobs?
Repeat the question, Shauna, for him.
What lessons has marriage taught you?
Oh, you cannot be selfish. You cannot be selfish.
Listen, your wife is beside you going out with beer things.
Yes, and she's right here to say whether it's truth or lie. You cannot be selfish. You have to think about your partner first. You have to think about your actions, your reactions, how it will affect them. She has often said, "I'm the fire, she's the ice," because some things ticks me off. But outside, if we're traveling and somebody bad drive me, I would normally drive them down and bad drive them back. However, she has often said, sometimes you need to just let them be. And I've learned that sometimes she makes sense,
Mhm.
and sometimes it is good to listen sometime before you talk. In a marriage, it's best to listen. Um, she would say, "Why did you do this one so?" And she would ask in a tone, and I would explain. As one said, it's best when one person argue, but sometimes I would listen to her, and when I explained why I did what I did, she would not say, "Oh," she would just say, and walk off. That because she realized that at that point she was wrong. She now gonna apologize, as I said, but she would just walk off and end it like that. So mm, you can't be selfish. You have to think about your partner. As I would say to her, you going on the road is a representation of me.
Mhm.
Likewise, me going on the road, it's also a representation of you. So somebody seen you, they're gonna say, "I saw your wife," and somebody see me, they're gonna say, "I saw your husband the other day." So you're representing that person. It's like you're representing a brand. So you have to sell that brand, not just in the good times, as the rooms has said. Love the person more than like, because even when you're upset, love will see you through. So marriage has taught that you have to love your spouse. On the same day that you got married, remember the day you got married, remember the look that was on her face, remember the joy that was in your heart. And if you can remember all that, whenever the times come to argue and to burst out, then you'll get to understand that, yes, this is what marriage is all about. It's understanding a human being who is totally different from you. Because if you had somebody was just like you, life would be very boring. Not to be mischievous, you don't have to be mischievous, but we all do each other from time to time. And it is good to see her laugh hysterically. She said the things that crack me up don't really crack her up, but I have a very good funny bone. She takes a little warming up to get in some jokes. But when I do tell a joke and it makes her laugh, yeah, that's good. So marriage has taught me you can't be selfish. You can't be. And you're out on the road, you're gonna have lunch, your first call. Have you eaten as yet? Because you want to know. And she would say, "No, you're bringing something for me." And then you'd say, "Okay, I'm coming with lunch so we can share." And she would call, "Have you eaten as yet?" "No, you want me to get you something, you come for it." And that's the kind of thing you think about the other person. You don't just think about yourself.
Okay. Angela,
For
what
me,
you have to say for yourself?
yeah, perhaps every night. But for me, marriage has taught me a lot of self-control. For those who know me, it has kind of in some case bring me down where I am a person. Sometimes I say to him, he is the fire and I'm the water on the road, but in the house I'm the fire, he's the water. So I get irate and I go off on some things. And for the past year and odd, I have learned to come down and appreciate what I have, appreciate the person that God has blessed me with to spend the rest of my life with. Respect him as best as possible because sometimes, as he said, when we just started to just talking, my mouth had no filter at all. No filter. Just get baptized, I'm still never have no filter. But he did help me in somewhat to understand who am I as a person, and those are some of the things that marriage has helped me to grow in my Christian life. If I've never prayed for anybody in my entire life, I prayed for my husband more than anything else. So that's one of the things marriage had taught me to love and respect. Pray for him a lot. Yeah, that's what that taught me so far.
So so this is actually my real last question. Okay, so the room share that their lessons is be tolerant, be understanding, not critical, acceptance of the person your spouse is. Where there are flaws, you try to work with it. Do not allow family to interfere when there's a problem. Discuss issues and pray about it. Practice family devotion daily, and don't let the sun go down on your anger. Learn to accept each other's friends. We have truly become one. And I think that is something, that's some solid advice, some solid lessons. And this question, and we're wrapping, this is our wrap-up question. And this is just for both of you, because I think the rooms have left something here that I'm sure both of you will leave with in the back of your mind. But this is for both couples who have just been married under 2 years. I want to ask you, are there any couples that you look up to, that you look to for example, and why?
For us, of course, we have the rooms at church and they're here. You can always, if you spend time around them, for somebody that has been married for 50 years and you just watch how they communicate, it will seem as if it's somebody who has just met, basically. They have that friendship about them, like the love is evident, basically. Like if Mr. Rooms is on stage, he'll never neglect to call Mrs. Rooms' name, right? So Mr. and Mrs. Rooms is definitely one of the persons who we can say we look up to, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. For us, we have.
I think, hold on, Andrea. I think Michael was saying something. Go ahead, Michael.
When you're just starting off marriage, it is good to have someone to look up to. It's not like you want to live the part that they have lived, but to say that this is my idol, this is the persons that you want your marriage to be like, it is good. And your marriage will take a path that is different from theirs, but to have them in mind it's amazing to see how well they can work together, they can communicate together. It is very good. You can basically see their emotions, their interactions. You can see it, you can feel it.
Thanks for that. Angela Jacobs.
All right, so for us, we have a lot. Dedham Town just recently started a marriage couple ministry. So we have some persons in our church that has been married 32 years, 30 odd years, 50 odd years. We have a number of them, Sam Mackenzie, Deacon Rodney, we have a lot of them. And I really look up to even Sister Mackenzie, how she speaks about her husband. She's speaking about her husband. It's just like she's talking about this, when you're talking about your best friend, like when you're talking about God, she will have that passion in her eyes talking about her husband. And I really look up to her. Deacon Rodney, when he is speaking of his wife, it gives you that chill that as a woman to know that a man would think of you with that. Like it's the first time you see that lady and you're just talking after maybe 30 or 50 years of marriage. So I have a number of them in Denham Town Baptist Church. As I said, we just started will come and they'll talk and we'll understand how it is as married couple. So yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you. All right, guys, we just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who watched us on YouTube. Thank you to our couples, the Pitchards, the Jacobs, and the Rooms. I'm so sorry that the Rooms weren't able to speak, but they have typed words of wisdom that I know my team are going to just pull on some of them and just share it. We want to say a big thank you to all three couples I speak a blessing over your marriage. I pray the Lord continues to use your ministry of marriage to be an example to others. I pray that I pray that He enlarges your territory. The picture, it's Michael. I know your wife told me you just came in today from work, and you really came and you really responded, and we appreciate that, because trust me, I know the graveyard thing, it's not pretty, and I'm sure Mr. Jacobs can relate. It's not a pretty thing, and we really appreciate it, because I know both you as men have really hectic jobs, and when you're out and your wives can juggle with working from home, it's rough. So I just want to say thank you so much. The rooms are sharing that they're really happy that they were able to share this evening, and they regret that they were not able to share verbally, but they saw us all. And even though you weren't able to share verbally, you gave us nuggets. I know the couples will appreciate it. I mean, even though they were on the panel, I'm sure they came to learn from each other, and they will leave, and I don't believe you leave here any worse than you came. You leave here better, because you would have learned so much. You'd have listened to each other respond, and you would have appreciated, all that the other couples had to say. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for joining our final chit chat for 2020. We look forward to seeing everybody else at our AGM. All the leaders, please come out to our AGM on the 21st of November. It's an election year. This is probably my second to last activity as the leader. And when the Lord gave chit-chatting to give him poor chit-chatting at my spirit, listen, man, it was something that I was like, boy, this is not something I want to do. For a KSABAYA level, God, you sure KSABAYA? But when he poured it and we started and stuff, but I've seen where especially this love and relationship series has done a lot. And it has our young people talking, and I know they look forward to more. So thank you everybody for joining us. Bless you all. And YouTube, thank you for watching. We're gonna close out with a song from Nathaniel that says "For Better or Worse." So thanks, guys.
Oh na 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 na, 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 oh na 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 na. There's one thing that I know for certain, one thing that I know for sure. I can't get enough of you. I know that my love ain't perfect. I've made mistakes and I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Baby, my love is eternal.